Thursday, 2022, 9 a.m. Wilson County Court is now, Commissioners Court is now in session. We'll have the opening prayer by the newly employed H.R. Graham.
Let's pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we ask an invocation. What we're really doing is invoking you to be here. That's kind of dangerous, because whenever we ask you to be present, we do the Pledge of Allegiance. We do the Pledge of Allegiance to the Texas flag. We have our court here, but you are the ultimate authority. But we are invoking you here. Thank you for allowing us to live in the United States where we can do that, Lord God. We have the freedom to know you and your love. And as has been said, today's Valentine's Day. What a beautiful moment to remember the love you showed us through your Son, Jesus Christ. So, Lord, we ask you not only to be in the proceedings of this court, but in the hearts of everyone here and the homes, especially, Lord, here in Wilson County. Thank you for your blessings, and we do ask you to be present in these proceedings for your glory and your praise. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor our Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along to agenda item number 3, public comments.
We have none at this time.
No public comments? Okay, then agenda item number 4, certificates of completion and awards, and we have some here. Okay, first one, Olga Marrero, Texas Registered Election Official. Having previously obtained the professional status of Texas Registered Election Official, TREO, under curriculum jointly sponsored by the Texas Association of Election Administrators and the Election Center, Katy, Texas, this certificate of renewal is issued to the TRO named above as successfully completion of the Election Center's recertification requirements to maintain registered election official status. Conferred this 5th day of January 2022, the Election Center National Elections Association. Okay, and certificate of training, this is to certify, certifies that Gail Ritchie Wilson, I guess Gail Ritchie of Wilson County, has successfully completed cybersecurity awareness training program requirement for year 2022 Texas County's course HB 3834. 2/8/2022 completion date. Okay, and this is to certify, okay, certificate of training. This certifies that Crystal Hidalgo, Wilson County Clerk's Office, has successfully completed the cybersecurity awareness training program requirement for year 2022 Texas County's course HB 3438, 1/26/2022 completion date. And now we have more completion dates from the commissioners with, Paul, you want to start it?
Okay, Judge, we had some employees that went through some equipment preventive maintenance. University of Texas of Arlington, Division for Enterprise Development, Public Works Institute certifies that Fabian Drzambik, Tony Gomez, and Brian Arth has successfully completed equipment preventive maintenance. January 26, 2022, 8 hours CEU.
Judge and I have, all 5 of my employees went through that too. There'd be Mauro Rodriguez, Andrew Cardenas, Paul Sanchez, Andres Ramos, and Andy Ramos.
And also in my precinct, I had Douglas Smith, Tim Svoboda, and Ernest Montana. They're the same.
I'll take them.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, and for the record, okay, Commissioner Precinct 4, Larry Wiley is absent. Okay. And moving on to agenda item number 5, extension activity reports, the handouts that we've got. And I see on the back of Samantha's, there is a deal if you want to test your soil. There is a thing you can fill out is
Oh, I wish they were here, because they all three received numerous awards at the state convention.
yes.
I smell
AgriLife.
bacon. I think they need cooking.
Okay. But congratulations to them, outstanding representation for Wilson County.
We need to get them here next meeting and recognize them. Anybody have any comments or questions other than that?
They're busy.
Yes, it's that time of year. Okay, moving right on to agenda item number 6, Richard L. Jackson, County Judge. Presentation and discussion of delinquent tax collection activity report by Jeff Garcia, Lineberger Law Firm. Lineberger Law Firm. Jeff?
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. As the judge said, this is a delinquent tax collection report over the reporting period of January through December 2021. And as I give the reports over the years, basically the entire report that you have there from page roughly 5 all the way to 25 is going over all the different activities that we do on behalf of the county to collect your delinquent property taxes. Of course, every account starts off with phone calls and mailings, and that works off the basic premises that litigation is used as a final resort, meaning that we do not go directly into litigation to have to collect your delinquent property taxes. Every effort is made to reach out and make contact with the taxpayers to get them on some kind of payment agreement or get them to the appraisal district to try to apply for any exemption that they may be entitled to under the laws of the state of Texas. So, obviously there you have examples of our mailing letters, how many times we reach out via phone calls to taxpayers, address research, lawsuit information as far as how many we filed, how many times we went to court to take judgments, and lastly, how many tax sales that we conducted within the reporting period. All that information is there. If you'd like for me to go into further detail with you one-on-one, I'll be more than happy to do that. But I think as far as time-wise here, I'm going to skip all the way to page 25 and 26, which is the delinquent tax collection result. And that is basically the overall collection numbers that were achieved by our law firm. Working in conjunction with Ms. Barnett and her office, as always, it's a team effort. And as always want to recognize Dawn for allowing us to be able to work with the close team relationship that we have between the law firm and the county. It goes through that tax office. As you can see there, going back to 2017, this past reporting period of 2021, reporting period, you can see that we've achieved the highest collection results going back to 2017. So this past year, we collected a little bit over $1.2 million in delinquent property taxes on behalf of the county. And the same is true. I just got the collection results for this past January, and we seem to be on the same upward trend as far as the collection amount. If you want to know overall balances and percentages, that's what the next page is. And as you can see, if you go all the way to the right column, you can see exactly where you're at as far as percentages, meaning perhaps how much is left out of that 100% delinquent tax roll or property tax roll that's left out there. So every year we get as close as possible to 100%. Granted that 100% is not really achievable because there are some cases, for whatever reason, because of an exemption, perhaps a taxpayer is entitled to a deferral, or the property may be in a bankruptcy proceeding. It's always hard to reach that 100% collection result. But as you can see right there, we reach above 99% each year. So the trend continues to be the same. It's an overall great collection report. And other than that, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. One thing that I also wanted to just briefly mention to Commissioner's Court is that We will be working with the tax office and the taxpayers. Congress passed in March a American Rescue Plan Act, which they sent money to the states for folks who may be behind in property taxes. We have a meeting scheduled for this Friday in which we will be sending out mailers to the folks who are entitled to that money that is at the comptroller's office. And so there's some requirements. The taxpayer has to apply for that money if they get behind on their property taxes, and it has to be their primary residence. And they had to have encountered a financial hardship this past year because of COVID, which would entitle them to perhaps receiving a grant from the state of Texas and the United States government under American Rescue Plan Act to help pay those taxes. Those tax monies would be distributed from the state directly to the tax office, and it is on a first-come, first-served basis. So we are working quickly to get that information from the tax office to be able to get a proper mailing out to those folks who are entitled to that, perhaps may be entitled to it. So, again, more good news, and if you have any questions, again, I'm here to answer.
Jeff, do you see a number increase because of the COVID in the last year or year and a half?
The number increase as to what?
Delinquent taxes? Maybe because of it?
No, for example, the overall delinquent balances have been going down. Your overall budget amounts have been, staying the same, if not going down for all the entities in Wilson County. So the overall balances have been going down, trending from 2017. So we haven't seen what, you would suspect, right, because of COVID, which was balances going up.
Right.
People owing more taxes. In fact, the opposite is true. It's been going down, and folks have been paying more of their taxes here recently, to be honest.
This 1.2797 million, is that before y'all get y'all's or after?
So that, right there, it is your base tax, penalty, and interest in the state. That
Okay.
is separate than our attorney's fees.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Jeff.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Yes,
Jeff.
sir. Good job.
Okay. Moving to agenda item number 7, Richard O. Jackson County Judge. Discuss and take action on approving the elections 4th Street parking lot on Saturday, April 2nd by the food pantry. Okay, Charles Ogburn, the president of the food pantry, called me and asked if they could use that parking lot to have a food distribution on the 2nd of April. And I told him there probably would be no problem at all, but I would like to run it in front of Commissioner's Court and get it passed. That way, there can be won't be any problems at all. They can use it and go on. So that's what I'd like to, if somebody would make a motion to let them use the parking lot over here off of 4th Street.
I'll make a motion to approve the use of the elections parking lot on Saturday, April 2nd, 2022 by the food pantry.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Fowle, that we allow the food pantry to use the parking lot. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So, you got that. Now, moving along to agenda item number 8, Gary Martin, Commissioner, Precinct 1, discuss and take action on amending the budget to reallocate road funding due to redistricting.
Yeah, so as y'all probably recall, Mr. Trevino sent us out a spreadsheet a couple of weeks ago in regards to that. Looking at reallocating funding based on either miles or weighted miles. And it appears that the only equitable method is to do it on the weighted miles, and that's actually, I believe, how we allocate our road funding. So I'll make a motion to direct the, auditor, to amend the budget to reallocate road funding using the weighted method miles, method B,
The weighted miles,
the weighted miles.
motion by Commissioner Martin,
Second.
second by Commissioner Perdola, that we reallocate the road miles using the weighted formula. Is there
I
any?
have a question.
Yes.
How will the money just come out of the balance of the budget? I mean, we go through great lengths to
Comes straight
allocate
out of your
money
budget.
on our budget.
So basically, what would happen is, the differences that I gave you in the spreadsheet. So, for example, Commissioner Perdola, in your precinct, it's a 5,000, if we do go with the weighted mile method, it's a reduction in your budget of $5,650.44. And so what I would have to do is, once I reallocate all 4 precincts according to the figures there, basically that amount of money would come off of your revenue side, and I would have to sit with you, and you would have to tell me where in your budget you would want to decrease.
Getting that come off of materials.
Yeah, it's up to you. You would, I
Okay.
would just sit with you and you tell me.
Each one has a fund balance. Can it come out of that?
It could come out of the fund balance,
That way
but
it wouldn't affect,
if it comes out of your fund balance, then the revenue also comes, so if the revenue comes out of your fund balance, then your budget does not change, it just decreases your fund balance overall.
Because I did carry quite a bit over last year, so that might be an easier way than to try to pick and choose where to take it out of the budget.
The biggest one that it would affect would be Precinct 4, Commissioner Wiley, because it's over $100,000 of change, so.
and the one that's gonna benefit the most is precinct 2.
Precinct 2,
And I'd just like to recommend, Judge, that we table this until Commissioner Wiley has a chance to come and put his input, because it's going to affect him the biggest on his total budget. It's not going to hurt me one way or the other. We wait till he can come to court, and that's just the way I stand on it.
You have a motion on the floor, sir.
I understand.
Yeah, there's a motion and a second.
I I would not be able to make any changes, even if you guys vote in favor of doing it now, until I'm able to sit with Commissioner Wiley so that he could tell me what he wants to. So it would put everything on hold until I'm able to meet with him.
I have had a conversation, he is aware that this is gonna have to happen, and it does have to happen.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying the allocation of where he would want me to adjust his budget, because it affects everybody else.
And it'll be a while before you get that done, so
Yeah.
if he has any, I don't know what, questions, or if he is not gonna be in favor of it, he can bring it up in the next Commissioners Court meeting, but like I said, I know he's aware of it, that it's gonna have to happen.
Does it matter that 5 months of the year's already passed?
Well, it's gonna go back to the first of the year, where everybody, because the first of the year, everybody got their new roads. You lost, I guess, 2 miles, and Paul picked up several miles, and so did Precinct 1.
So I
Gained like
think-
18, I gained
Yeah,
like
I think what
15.
Kathy's asking, though, because we've already completed the first quarter of this fiscal year, so monies have already been spent out of y'all's budget. So in essence, we would take, if we're gonna consider it just the first quarter, October through December 31st, then we would take 75% of these totals to allocate rather than the 100%.
And that's
So,
going to
Jeff, it
affect
may
his
be-
budget
I'm
pretty,
not saying that's necessarily so, I'm just bringing it up for discussion.
Yeah, well,
Particularly if anyone has front-loaded their work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Since you had the budget October 1, you could have
Yeah,
already done a whole
no,
lot.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
if we can use fund balance, that would be a good option for me, where I don't have to go in and try to take money from this thing that I've already figured how I'm gonna spend the monies. But that would be up to Commissioner Wiley.
So Judge, would it be up to each individual commissioner on whether or not they want it to be added or taken out of their fund balance?
No, if we vote, it's gonna happen. I mean, one commissioner can't say, no, I'm not letting you have my money.
No,
No,
I'm asking.
she's saying, can Commissioner Perdola choose to take it out of his fund balance, and maybe Commissioner Wiley doesn't?
That would be,
I mean, that,
That, it's up to each.
it's coming out of their budget, no matter
right,
what.
because I
whether it
mean,
comes off
on
a line
our
item out
side,
of
we're
the
gonna
fund
have to
balance.
tell you where to
coming
reallocate
out of
those
their
dollars
budget.
too.
But it'd be up to each commissioner to decide whether it's from the fund balance
Yeah.
or from their
The
current
actual
year.
Your
budget.
line items, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But we've got a motion and a second on the floor, and I'm going to call for, if anybody has any more discussion, I'm going to call for a vote. Okay? All in favor of the amending the budget to reallocate the funding due to roads due to redistricting? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
aye.
Okay. You got that, Commissioner Fowl? Okay. Okay, moving along to agenda item number 9, Richard L. Jackson County Judge Carolyn Palacios. Discuss and possible action on request from Floresville Peanut Festival for barbecue cook-off. Carolyn? Or Brenda?
Well, it's Carolyn, but I was
Oh,
just gonna give you a
okay.
copy.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Most of you know me, but I am Carolyn Palacios, and I am this year's president for the Floresville Peanut Festival Association.
Yay, congratulations.
Well, of course, we're very grateful for the continued support that the county provides to our association year after year. Last year, we were so excited to host our first annual barbecue cook-off, and with y'all's support, of course, we were able to host it here on the courthouse square and in the parking lot. We had 54 teams. Several were on the wait list that weren't able to participate because of the lack of space. Our local hotels were booked. We had, people came in from all over Texas. The cook-off was very successful. It generated needed revenue for our October festival and also to provide scholarships to our Royal Court. This year, we're respectfully requesting permission from the court for permission to utilize the Wilson County Expo and Community Center. I have to read it because I want to say the show barn. Beginning Friday, May 20th at 1 p.m. through Saturday, May 21st, with judging ending at approximately 6 p.m. We're going to be utilizing the parking lots, the grassy area, the hall, Friday evening and Saturday for judging, and the raffle as well. We have a crew that will provide cleanup of the grounds and the inside of the hall. Right now, we're anticipating approximately 60 teams. We're pretty sure that we're gonna get more than that. So we're very excited, and we definitely want y'all to keep it on the calendar, because we're gonna need all of you to come and taste that delicious barbecue. But we thank you for your time this morning and your consideration of our request. Y'all have any questions for us?
As long as we get some samples.
Hey, you,
Judge it, you'll get all the samples you want.
hey, you were first on the list for judge, to sign up to judge last year.
Oh, definitely. Friday night, we'll have fajitas, and then Saturday, we have the beef, ribs, and chicken, and brisket.
And then there's also, this year, the addition of a junior cook-off, so we're gonna have kids cooking ribeye steaks on Saturday afternoon.
And
Very
that's
good.
a
I'll volunteer for that.
sanctioned
Yeah.
event as well, so we're
Yeah.
super excited. Yeah.
And no Bloody Mary contest?
No, not this year. Maybe next year we'll have the Richard L. Jackson Bloody Mary contest.
Judge, I make a motion that we approve letting the Peanut Festival use the Wilson County Expo facility in the parking lot for the annual cook-off.
Motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we allow the Peanut Festival to use the parking lot at the Expo Center for the barbecue cook-off. Oh. What days?
May 20th and 21st.
Parking lot and the building for judging, yes.
May 20th
May 20th?
and 21st.
Okay. Okay. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Well, thank y'all very much, and we are gonna hold y'all to coming out there and taking.
Now, would that be, as when we're still in the burn ban,
Okay.
can they burn those, have all that smoke going up, you know?
They get a permit.
Question, there's not, it's not booked already on that date, is it? Do you know? Would you know? Can we? Okay. Because if that would be one deal, I hope nobody's already got it booked and we can't. Okay, thank you.
very much.
Thank you, Carol.
And don't forget y'all sweetheart today.
Okay, moving right along to agenda item number 10, Richard L. Jackson County Judge, discuss and take action on engaging Bracewell LLP, Blakely Fernandez, is who we talk, is to assist in negotiations with the tax abatement contract. This is a law firm that was recommended that we get, the people that we're dealing with is gonna pay. I guess that would be part of the negotiations. They've offered at least $10,000 on their fees, and we can probably negotiate for more than that. That's what this person is gonna be for, is to help us, since we're not experienced with any tax abatement yet, to deal with these people. So, and like I said, it's good, the first part of it, and we may be able to get all of it paid for by the company that's, wanting the tax abatement.
I'll make a motion to approve engaging Bracewell LLP to assist with negotiation on the tax abatement contract.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we engage Bracewell LLP to help us with negotiations for a tax abatement contract. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we have them working. Okay, agenda item number 11, Richard L. Jackson County Judge, Brenda Trevino County Auditor. Discuss and take action on a budget amendment request per Judge Russell Wilson to remove juvenile supplement pay from Wilson County payroll.
Yes, so I had a conversation with District Judge Wilson last week. He currently receives a supplemental pay from Wilson County for being on the Carnes-Wilson Juvenile Board. He has requested to no longer receive that supplemental pay effective February 28th. And he has requested for a budget amendment to show that we are removing that pay and reallocate. It's like $2,800 is the total for the year. It's like $100 for every pay period that he gets. And reallocating those funds back to our general fund, our contingency line item, effective February 28th. And this is due to his retirement as when he was county attorney with Wilson County.
Out in the statute? Or, I mean, we're good? I mean,
Yeah,
there's no-
everything is good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He had a conversation with TCDRS, and TCDRS is the one who is asking that the only way to continue what he's trying to do with his retirement is by amending the budget in court to remove him from the salary.
I just am kind of curious now, the more you think about it. Okay, so him being district judge, they do not pay into TCDRS?
That, I know we don't from Wilson County. I don't know if he does through the state or anything. I don't know. I don't know how they get paid or how they're.
It comes from the state, so I guess they have a state retirement, not the
Oh, maybe.
county and district retirement.
Right. Oh, that's probably true.
Okay.
I would imagine so.
I'll make a motion to direct the county auditor to do a budget amendment to remove the juvenile supplemental pay from the Wilson County payroll for Judge Russell Wilson, effective February 28th.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we remove Judge Wilson's juvenile supplemental pay from the payroll. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So here we go. Agenda item number 12, Richard L. Jackson County Judge, Michelle Mora, Grants Manager. 12A, discuss and approve the contract amendment for the TCEQ ACOG Wilson County Collection Facility Solid Waste Expansion Project.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Good morning.
A couple weeks ago, I got an email from ACOG saying that they wanted to give us more money, which we knew that this would come down the pipeline. It was just a matter of when and how much for the collection facility expansion project. Now the project is complete. We've submitted our the initial final reports. There's one more follow-up final report a year after the project was complete, which is due in August. But they came back to us a couple weeks ago saying they had $48,928.84, and they wanted to give it to us. So I prepared the documents that, as far as the documents that they require, and then of course provided our invoices and our copies of our checks indicating that we had paid for the extra materials and supplies and stuff. So with your approval of their amendment, we can accept the extra $48,000, which would bring that project to only about $3,000 out of our pocket.
This, I have a comment to make on this one. This is the first grant that Michelle worked on when she came here. She was still in the auditor's office. She wasn't the grant manager when she got this grant, and it seems like it just keeps paying and paying.
It's the grant that keeps on giving.
Yes, and I remember I went with her and Brenda when we went to ACOG, and ACOG gets their fair share of this too. Of the total allocation from, it came from Texas Department,
TCEQ.
yeah.
Texas
Oh,
Commission on
oh,
Environmental Quality.
I thought it came from TDM. Okay, Texas, TCEQ. It came from them. ACOG gets a pretty good share of it, like 61,
Administrative costs.
yeah, 60 or 60 and a half, 61%. And the rest of it, which is 39%, gets funded or bonded or granted out.
Yeah.
So,
And the city of San Antonio and Bexar County are kind of entitled jurisdictions, so they get a certain allotment of that.
no matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah, and there were a bunch of counties there, and I don't know if they didn't qualify or didn't follow through.
I think that their projects were so small, and maybe not as legacy driven, that, and probably y'all's relationship as well with them, that encouraged them to continue to give us more money.
I have a question, and I'm just throwing this out there for the court's consideration, and maybe Michelle has more information on it, but that project, so we budgeted our portion last year and the year before to complete that, right? So we've already spent, we spent our budgeted amount. So the project has been completed, and now we get these additional funds that are gonna be received in this fiscal year. And I'm almost wondering if we can accept that money and do additional improvements at the collection facility with this money, because we've already expended what was budgeted from the county's money last year.
Oh, aren't we in need of a building out there?
Building, scale? What, I mean,
I don't know if we're,
That would, I mean, that, obviously they're waiting on us to approve that and get this back to them. But with all of my invoices, if there is any left over after, they have given us the money, then that leftover amount it would be fair game. But anything that it was.
oh, so they
expended
specifically
for the
earmarked
extra
it for already, expenses that were already done?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because we had an over cost or whatever in our materials because of, the materials were so high. And we supplied them with those invoices. So their books indicate that we will be reimbursed for all the materials plus some.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
but being that we've already paid it, like you said, what would we do with that money? Where would it go then?
I would assume, I mean, that we would just receipt it, but it's gonna be revenue receipted into this fiscal year. It's not like we can,
and see, it may be closed on our side, but it's not closed on their side because we have that additional report in August of this year. After that report.
The
in
final
August,
report.
Yes. The
we're still needing a septic system out there too, aren't we?
There's lots of things that we can, but like I said, Paul was saying or asking, okay, this money's gonna be receipted into the general fund? Is it gonna be receipted into something that we can use it out of, or is it gonna be for the reimbursement of money already spent?
Because we don't have any expenses this fiscal year, it wouldn't be a wash, so it would just be, I guess we would just receipt it back into as miscellaneous revenue from the specific grant. I would have to ask our outside auditors who, right now, who are in the process of that, if they can earmark this revenue back to last year. Maybe that's the way to do it, just to show that
Okay,
it
but
was less of an expense. But-
if we did it last year, how can we spend it this year? If we.
Well, no, we wouldn't spend it if we recorded it as last year's revenue. I'm not
Yeah, I
certain
guess that's
on
really
that.
the big question.
If we do
I guess
that,
is
then
what
it's gonna
the-
end up in the general fund.
If
Yeah,
we-
but- right, but from what she's saying is unless we have,
A surplus
Just-
of, which I believe we do, if I'm correct, based on what they've got. I think it's like $5,000 or $6,000, which is not much to do with out there, but, yeah, unless there is something that's not expended through invoices and what I've given them, then we can't spend, from what I understand, we can't spend that.
Yeah.
But all those invoices have been paid for.
They
Yeah,
have-
they've already
They
been.
have,
right,
so
but
this
that,
is a
but that's,
reimbursement for
but
this.
that's what they're actually paying you for is,
Yeah, but they're going back into our budget.
right.
It's gonna go back probably to the general fund.
Yes.
Right,
Or
so basically,
something.
they're giving us more money because we expended more money for the project.
Yeah.
We didn't just expend $113,830, we expended more for that.
But it came out, we've already paid for that.
Right.
So-
But in the grand scheme of things of,
So would we be allowed to use this,
It's an accounting issue.
yeah,
would we be allowed to use it for whatever we want? It's gonna increase our budget.
Well, that's what she's saying. I don't think they know the answer to
I
that
don't
right
know
this
the
minute.
answer to that. I think that if it would have been as simple, if it would have been, they're saying, here's $44,000 or $48,000, now tell us what you want to do with it, and we went back to them and said, okay, with this money now, we're going to expand on that project, that would have been a different thing, because then we would have had that money and said, okay, now we can spend $48,000 more, and we're going to add a scale or add a septic or whatever. But because we've turned in those receipts to request with reimbursement, I don't know the answer to that yet, so I'd have to do some research and find out.
It's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the
Yeah.
egg?
Yeah,
We're gonna get the money no matter what we do with it. If we,
right, it's just a
Yes.
matter of account of.
it's a
where-
matter of what we can do with it, how we can, if we can.
Yeah, I'll call our.
It's a good idea not to
external
turn it
auditor
down,
today
though.
and
No,
find
no,
out.
no, we need to get it. I mean, I make a motion
Yeah.
that we approve, the, collection, TCEQ, ACOG collection, grant project.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fowles, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we approve the let's see, the Wilson County Facility Solid Waste Expansion Project, the amendment for that. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And this is something that, we have a grants manager and she stays on top of things and in conversation, that's how we got this extra $48,000. It's because of the communications that she has with the people that she's working with to get the grants.
So
Thank you.
will someone get back with us and let us know what we can do with?
Yes, I'll call Debbie, our external auditor today and ask her what she recommends. It may just be, I have a feeling she'll just say that we'll just do an entry to last year's books to offset our.
I need to sign this?
last year.
both copies and then
But
one copy.
I will confirm.
Okay.
And we still got more projects out there. Keep sending the money.
Okay, now we're going to 12B, ratify the application submissions and approve the resolutions for the following fiscal year 22-23 Office of the Governor Grant Opportunities. B1, Victims General Assistance, VOCA Grant ID 3309905.
One copy of the resolution. I'll go ahead and read the resolution. Resolution authorizing the filing of application for grant Victims of Crime Act Grant CJD General Victim Assistance Direct Services Program. Whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court finds it in the best interest of the citizens of Wilson County that prosecution of violent crimes continues. And whereas the Wilson County Commissioner Court finds it that in the best interest of the citizens of Wilson County that the position of Wilson County Victim Assistance Coordinator be operated for the year 2022-2023. And whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court agrees to provide applicable matching funds for the said project as required for the Victims of Crime Act grant program. Whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court agrees that in the event of loss or misuse of the office of the governor funds, assure that the funds will be returned to the office of the governor in full. Whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court designates the Wilson County Judge Richard L. Jackson as their authorized official to apply for, accept, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wilson County Commissioners Court approves the submission of the grant application for the Victims of Crime Act CJD General Assistance Direct Services Program to the Office of the Governor of Texas Criminal Justice Division, passed and approved this 14th day of February 2022.
Okay,
So this particular grant funds County Attorney Christina Macias's position and has for the past 2.5 grant cycles, past 3 or 4 years now. There's no matching going into this year. We have gotten it every year since then, so this is just a continuation project. They need routine business of resolution passed by the Commissioners Court.
yeah, they're paying for this position for us.
And they're paying
And
in full fringe and salary.
Yeah, whereas before we had a percentage match, so it's
This
due to
current
ARPA, I
year, they
think,
have a
yeah.
percentage match. But this coming year, they're gonna use, the state's gonna use their RPA funds, their American Rescue Fund funds to cover this entire grant program. They've even waived volunteers, which is also a requirement of the grant.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the Victims General Assistance VOCA Grant ID 3309905 and ratify the submission of the grant.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we approve the Victims General Assistance VOCA Grant ID 3309905. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving along to 12B2, the Violence Against Women Act Assistance, VAWA Grant ID 3015407.
Similar, we have had this grant for, again, 2.5 cycles, which is about 3 years for this particular grant. This partially funds the prosecutor and investigator in the county attorney's office, Greg Weinhardt and Joshua Olivetis' position. This is a continuation project. They need a resolution. There is a 30% match in this particular grant. And so in so doing, this is part of our transitionary process as well with Joshua's position. The county attorney and the sheriff have discussed it, and this will be the last year potentially for coverage of Josh Olivetis' position, and it'll be moved over to the sheriff's office. It'll be under his purview and his budget.
Will there still be a grant for his position?
I mean, we can apply for it, but then it becomes a competitive process between the sheriff and the county attorney's office. So we can definitely do it like we're trying to do it to, this go-round, which means that the partial match will come from the sheriff's budget this next fiscal year, for, that investigator position. And then, of course, the prosecutor position will still come from the county attorney's budget.
Okay, but what I'm getting at is what that's gonna do to the sheriff's, it's gonna take another salary out of the sheriff's budget.
Well, 30%.
30%.
Well, 30% of it,
They've
If-
discussed.
okay?
Yeah, if
Got
it
it.
gets if it gets funded, if not, the sheriff would have to decide if he's going to assume that extra investigator at full salary and benefits. We won't know until
Okay.
whether or not we were awarded it. But what Michelle is saying, so it would be,
Well, I'm worried about the 30%, and y'all are talking about the whole thing.
I mean, would you know by the time the budget comes
So they-
around?
well, this is this for next, this is
This is
for,
for next fiscal year, so we won't know. This actually, for this current fiscal year that we're in, we didn't find out until we were 2-3 weeks into October.
Yeah.
Which is our new fiscal year. So, but ideally, they tell us by September or 1st of October if it's funded.
yeah, so it won't affect this current budget right now. What would happen would be that the sheriff would then have to budget 30% of Josh's salary into his new budget for fiscal year 2023.
And that, this part, I mean, this is, the idea of doing this transition, not only is it better for the sheriff, I mean, the roles and responsibilities align with the sheriff's department, but it's also a sustainability measure in that we are taking some actions to kind of shift folks around and work from different budgets, because when we went through this last interview process, ACOG was real adamant on saying, some of these these continuation projects are gonna stop, basically, or they're gonna be, the funding's gonna be decreased quite a bit. And this current fiscal year's, was decreased by quite a bit. The original budget submitted for both positions was like $120,000. That was including, the match and both salaries, and they capped it, the state capped it at $75,000, that's it. So we're already paying 30%, well, more than 30%, of the two positions' compensation package.
Yeah, my only concern would be is if they, because Michelle will still be submitting an application for the attorney's office for the prosecutor that they pay for, and then a separate application for the sheriff for Josh's position. And should ACOG decide, well, we're only gonna approve one for Wilson County and not two, now that they're two separate applications, we just need to make sure, I mean, what's gonna be the plan if either or gets denied by ACOG? Or is the court gonna be prepared to budget to continue employment at 100%?
Is that gonna come like midstream?
Well, no-
Mid-budget, or is it
no,
gonna
no,
come
no,
in
no.
next
It would-
year
it
at
would
budget
be
time?
Starting in like August, September of this year, prepare for our October budget.
But we'll know ahead of time.
Well, we didn't get the
Or a little
final,
bit of ahead of
we
time?
didn't get the final answer until after October, but we budgeted the 75,000 because ACOG told us we're capping it at 75,000 if you even get 100% of that. So we only budgeted 75,000.
And it is typical, what I've understood from the ACOG and the CJAC committee, that whatever their recommendation to the state usually is what goes forward with the state. So we do know what we're going to be funded at, like the 75,000. What we don't know is if we're gonna be funded at that amount. So at that point, the state can say meh, or say, okay, we'll go with what we got. And that's what I mentioned earlier, if you do two separate applications, you're competing There are some other, grant applications out there for the sheriff's, office for positions in general. But this position for Josh is a dedicated investigator for these types of crimes. So.
Is Josh still gonna office over here? Is he gonna office
I don't
over
think
here?
we've worked that out yet.
We gotta let him work that out yet?
Because right now, the group, Christina, Greg, and Josh work really well together, by doing the research, doing the investigations for these, domestic violence, crimes against women, family abuse, so forth and so on. They do a wonderful job, and they're up there, they're doing their thing, so that's definitely something that the sheriff and Tom will definitely have to work out to see how that transition's gonna work with them. But hopefully, with this effort to say, okay, we understand what you're saying, we're trying to help, that, it'll be funded, and maybe it'll even be funded a year after that. And, in general, grants don't last forever, right? So, you kind of have to start deciding on, is it gonna be permanent? Does it have value? Kind of similar with the library's grants for the digital navigator position with the border security positions. While those, I've spoken with those funders, and they say it's pretty likely that there's additional monies coming down the pipeline for those. It's not the case for all of them, especially programs that have been in the system for quite some time, so. But there's many more grants out there.
Okay.
So let me read the resolution, all that. A resolution authorizing filing an application for grant Violent Crimes Against Women Restorative Justice Team. Whereas the Wilson County Commissioner Court finds it in the best interest of the citizens of Wilson County that prosecution of violent crimes against women continue, and whereas the Wilson County Commissioner's Court finds that it is in the best interest of the citizens of Wilson County that the Violent Crimes Against Women Restorative Justice Team be operated for the year 2022-2023. Whereas the Wilson County Commissioner's Court agrees to provide applicable matching funds for the said project as required by the Violence Against Women Act grant program. And whereas the Wilson County Commissioners agree that in the event of loss or misuse of the Office of Governor funds, assured that the funds will be returned to the Office of Governor in full. And whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court designates the Wilson County Judge Richard L. Jackson as their authorized official to apply for, accept, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wilson County Commissioners Court approves submission of the grant application for the Violent Crimes Against Women Restorative Justice Team to the Office of the Governor of Texas Criminal Justice Division. Passed and approved this 14th day of February 2022. That's it.
Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution for Violence Against Women Act Assistance, the VAWA grant ID number 3015407.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Perdola, second by Commissioner Martin. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The sheriff can probably do some networking up in Austin to maybe help with them.
Okay, moving right along to 12B3, the Sheriff's Office Equipment Enhancement Grant, JAG, ID number 4494401.
All right, so this is a new grant. It's different from our previous grants, this fiscal year, crime prevention and all the other, grants that we did this current year. This is for some supplies and equipment for handling volatile subjects. And then, of course, some stop sticks, and stopping high-speed pursuits, which, the sheriff's office has greatly experienced in the last few months, for sure.
what have they greatly experienced?
High-speed pursuits
Oh.
and volatile subjects. So the equipment is several stop sticks to supply each, officer in their vehicles, with that. It's a stop stick kit, it's basically those little things you throw it on the road and it, tire goes over, it deflates. And this other device is called the wrap, and it's basically like a straitjacket. And there's a cart involved, and there's a helmet involved. So,
Who's the helmet for?
vigil. But they are pretty pricey, so, so we were able to throw this into the JAG grant. So that's what we're asking for. So here's the resolution, routine business resolution of the County of Wilson authorizing the filing of a grant application with the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Criminal Justice Division for, I messed that one up. For the sheriff enhancement equipment, authorizing Richard L. Jackson, County Judge, to act on behalf of the County of Wilson in all matters related to the application, and pledging that if a grant is received, the County of Wilson will comply with the grant requirements of 34 USC Section 10152, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program, JAG, the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Criminal Justice Division, and the State of Texas. Whereas the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Criminal Justice Division administers the Criminal Justice Grant Program for the state of Texas, which provides grant funding for projects that promote public safety by equipping the sheriff offices with necessary devices and whatnot for crime prevention and safety. Whereas the County of Wilson and the state of Texas is qualified to apply for grants under the request for applications. Now therefore be it resolved by the County of Wilson and Floresville, Texas, that Richard L. Jackson, County Judge, is authorized to request grant funding under 34 USC Section 10152, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program, and the Office of the Governor of Texas Public Safety Office, Criminal Justice Division, and act on behalf of the County of Wilson in all matters related to the grant application and any subsequent grant contract and grant project that may result. That if the project is funded, the County of Wilson will comply with the grant requirements of 34 USC Section 10152, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program, JAG, the Office of Governor, Public Safety Office, Criminal Justice Division, and the State of Texas. That the County of Wilson agrees to provide applicable matching funds for the said project if required by the Criminal Justice Program. The grant funds and any grant-funded equipment facilities will be used only for the purpose for which they are intended under the grant. That in the event of loss or misuse of the Officer of Governor funds, the County of Wilson assures that the funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor in full. The activities will comply with and support the promotion of safety and crime prevention in which the activities are performed, passed and approved by the Commissioners Court of Wilson County in Floresville, Texas on this 14th day of February 2022.
I'll make a motion, Judge, that we approve the Sheriff's Office Equipment Enhanced Grant, JAG, ID number 4494401.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Martin, and we approve this grant. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And every deputy will have a spike?
If we get the grant approved, there will be spikes in every year.
That will be costly.
Yes, sir. Comes in a nice little kit. There's training on it as well.
And I think we'd have one per shift of the wraps, right? I think we figured that, 2 in the jail.
Okay, moving right along to 12C, discuss and ratify the grant application submission for the Peggy Barber Tribute Grant for the library's Outdoor Learning Center.
All right, so this was a quickie grant. It's worth $2,500. This goes towards what Nikki and the other Nikki, our librarians, towards that outdoor learning center, as well as some other programs that they want to do to assist our seniors in the nursing homes. Like I said, it was found by the library. She provided a quick outline. I researched it, developed the grant $2,500 if awarded. Very competitive grant. And there's only three
Where does this grant come from?
libraries.
Where does this grant come from?
Where does it come from?
Is it a private grant or is
It's
it,
from the state of New York, I believe.
okay, that,
But it's only three, like
There's only three
nationwide.
nationwide that gets
Okay.
selected, but,
This was something that Nikki wanted to do, right?
right. And if awarded, they would, the library would purchase several, memory kits, dementia-related kits, Alzheimer kits, and develop kits to be checked out by not only caregivers, but also seniors, and the idea would be to take them to the nursing home as well. to help
something you
those-
guys need to think
those
about.
facilities.
The senior group?
A personal benefit for you, Paul.
I'll make a motion to ratify the grant application submission for the Peggy Barber Tribute Grant for the library's Outdoor Learning Center.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Morton, second by Commissioner Pardoll, that we ratify the grant application. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
When will we know if we were one of the three in the United States for 2020?
Thank you.
Probably in about 3 years.
Thank you, Roden. Yeah.
I know.
Thank you so much, Judge.
Okay. Moving along to agenda item 13, Leanne Hoshek, EMC 13A, utility permit number 667, Oak Hills Water Supply Corporation, Precinct 1, County Road 127, review and approve.
Judge, I met out on the ground with Oak Hills, and so I'll make a motion to approve utility permit number 667.
This is only
to
going to
Oak
be a
Hills Water
2-inch
Supply.
line?
Huh? Yeah,
Am I
it's just,
reading that right?
yes, it is. It's just
Why
a
such a
2-inch
small
line.
line?
Because it's only serving about 3 people down on the end of 127.
And there won't be any more development down there where they might need more later?
Well, if they do, then they'll put a bigger line in later.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Pardoll, that we approve permit number 667. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. It's like a Commissioner Wiley signature almost.
I know, I did a double take too.
It's just a shorter one. Okay, moving along to 13B, 13B1, okay, pipeline crossing permit, B1, permit number 126, Recoil Resources Precinct 2, County Road 204, review and approve, and B2, permit number 127, Recoil Resources Precinct 2, County Road 213, review and approve.
Judge, I met with Recall already, and these are gas pipelines that they're gonna be running. I'll make a motion to approve permit 126 and permit 127, gas pipeline crossing.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Pardoll, that we approve pipeline crossing permit number 126 and permit number 127. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, while we're writing that, we're going to move to 13C, non-standard plants variances. 1305 County Road 356, Precinct 3, Story. Discuss and take action. What's that?
This non-standard plat, the property owners, they own 9 acres, and they are subdividing into 3 tracts. Tracts 2 and 3, they're conveying to family, so it's exempt from requirements, from plating requirements, and tract 1, they are selling. It has come before the committee, it's met all the requirements, and the committee gave it a favorable recommendation.
I make a motion that we accept the non-standard plat variance on the stored piece of property.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Pedola, second by Commissioner Fowle, that we accept the variance on the property at 1305 County Road 356. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Agenda item 13D, infrastructure requirements for lodging and recreational vehicle park developments, variance. 8205 State Highway 97 East, Precinct 3, Rue East. Discuss and take action.
Okay, this property owner owns 2.5 acres. They are requesting relief from the RV park and lodging regulations. If a tract of land has 3, if they're putting a 3rd structure on a tract of land within the time frame from when we adopted these regulations, then that kicks in the requirement to meet the regulations. They're requesting a variance or requesting relief from meeting the regs because it's all family. The mother who owns the lot lives in an RV at the front, and she allowed one of her daughters to put a mobile home in the middle of the property, and she's got another daughter that wants to put a mobile home on the back part of the property. So the committee gave it a favorable recommendation contingent upon the fact that it's family that continues to live in the structures.
What if somebody, one of them moves out and they put somebody else in there or rent it out or whatever? What would that affect?
If it's family, then that's okay, but if not, then they'd have to comply with our regulations.
Okay. They're aware of that?
Yes, they
Okay.
were at the meeting.
Is there gonna be a septic tank for each one of these? Septic
Yes.
system?
Yes.
Okay.
No, 3s.
Barely, I think.
Yeah, it's just right at that.
I'm not sure
right at
just
the border.
exactly where it is.
Right at the border.
This isn't someone we've dealt with before?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good.
Haven't had an issue.
Good.
It's,
Passing lane on 97.
I'll make a motion that we accept the variance on 8205 State Highway 97 East, Ruiz property.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Perdola, second by Commissioner Fowle, that we accept the variance on 802 State Highway 97 East. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Chaparral Ranch, is that the new one they're putting out on 321? No. No.
Okay, agenda item 13E, subdivision Chaparral Ranch. 13E1, review and approve final plat. Discuss and take action.
it's 4 pages to the plat.
We get some of those fancy little pens to sign with?
Yes, I've got candies.
How many of these have we got? Or this is
It's
all?
4 pages to the plat.
Oh, okay.
3 copies of the plat. Okay, and this development is off of County Road 401, right at the city limits. It's in the ETJ of the city of Floresville, they have relinquished their platting authority to the county. So the developer met all of the county's regulations. It's a 48-lot subdivision, and it's unit 1 of a 2-phase development.
Just the one where they originally were gonna put the road down the middle of a gas line easement?
Yes.
They decided
Yes.
that wasn't such a good idea.
He purchased additional
The additional-
property and was able to.
Additional
relocate
piece of
it.
land.
Developer is Mr. Bags, he's sitting right there. If y'all would have any questions.
And I went and observed that right away you're talking about yesterday, and everything's good. I was out working on my days off.
You get a day off?
I usually get a bunch.
We'll call you every once in a while, just make you feel like you needed. You'll have to come visit. BV, you probably won't want to come back. These are all less than an acre. What is the smallest that they can do in the county and still get septic permits?
If they meet the dense lot spacing requirements, they can go down as low as half an acre. But there's extra requirements.
And all of these septic systems are gonna be aerobic?
Lots of irrigation.
Yes.
I do have one little question for Mr. Bag. In the future, or let's say, because you're gonna be maintaining the tailings pond versus, basically on your property that you're keeping within the city limits, correct?
The HOA actually would
They will be the one maintaining that? Okay.
The HOA will?
Yes. Yeah, there's a drainage easement that, is off-site, it's off the platted property, it's onto property that the developer.
So you would not be allowed to sell that, if you decide you want to sell your property, that pond would still stay
that easement runs with the land.
with the land that this is?
Yes.
That's
And I also saw that yesterday. And there's gonna be some drainage coming in there.
It is.
Do we need to sign each one of these, or?
Let's see. This is in your precinct, Paul?
I'll make a motion, Judge, that we approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we approve the plat for Chaparral Ranch. Let's see. Okay, this is
Final plat.
the final plat of just the first,
Chaparral Ranch. Unit 1.
of the first unit, Unit 1, okay. Did you get that, Eva?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
over to you, sign 4 of them.
Where's this one go, Paul?
Yes, Paul.
I think we got them all. You got that one?
This one's been signed.
Okay. You gonna roll them up?
Yeah.
Oh, shucks. Here. Okay, can we move right on along? Okay, now we're going to 13E2, discuss and take action on acceptance of a bond, $1,994,203.20.
Oh, yes, Cibolo Ridge.
Yes.
Yes.
No, Chaparral Ranch.
Chaparral Ranch, I'm sorry.
Judge, I make a motion that we accept a bond of $1,994,203 for Chaparral Ranch,
And 20 cents.
and 20 cents.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we accept the bond for Chaparral Ranch. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any motion carries. Okay, you're done. Okay, moving right along, 13F, Subdivision Cibolo Ridge, Unit 3, F1, discuss and take action on approving letter of credit for additional year for reduced amount of $100,000.
Okay, on Cibolo Ridge, Unit 3, there were some issues identified during the maintenance period. The maintenance bond was about to run out, or the letter of credit was about to run out in March. And Commissioner Perdola worked with the developer, and they agreed to provide a updated letter of credit for a reduced amount to cover the costs of the improvements that needed to be done and some maintenance work for another year. So if this one is approved, it will give us another year of warranty at a reduced amount for the improvements that are being done.
Now, they are asking that this $100,000 be released once they do complete these.
Well, and we did tell them that, yes, once those improvements are completed, and if the 70% vegetation is met,
Yes.
and it's inspected and the county's happy with it, that
We'll
we
have,
would consider
the
releasing it
county
before
engineer
that
will have
year.
to come out and,
Is this Unit 3 only?
yes.
Yes, because that was the
But they
only-
aren't, they did agree to go ahead and clean,
The other
Culvert
parts up there,
pipes,
that I
yeah,
know you've been
for
having
Yes,
problems with
because
the
of the
whole.
issues in Unit
Yeah.
3, it did cause problems. that-
yeah, the problems in Unit
Were
1
related
actually
to Unit 3.
arose from
Yeah.
problems stemming
Unit
from
3?
Unit 3. So we tied it all together and got them to agree to clean the whole thing up and repave a good portion of the street in Unit 3.
That's a good deal.
They're gonna go in and retop it because, and the developer didn't do it, the home builders and contractors destroyed those
They're the
streets
ones
with
that
skid
tore it up
steers and so forth. So I'll make a motion that we accept this reduced letter of credit of $100,000, giving us another year to get the vegetation established and make these corrections at this time.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Pardola, second by Commissioner Martin, that we accept the reduced letter of credit for Cibolo Ridge Unit 3. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving right along to 13F2, discuss and take action on release of original letter of credit of $449,698.
And that's the original letter of credit that is due to expire
March
in
the,
March.
March the 9th,
So it is greatly reduced.
Yes.
but it expires March the 9th, and we didn't want to let that expire without having another letter of credit in place to guarantee the county some leverage on making sure that these deficiencies get corrected.
But just out of curiosity, if we release it now, is it released now or is it released on March the 9th?
March the 9th, right?
Well, it expires March the 9th. We're releasing it ahead of time.
Okay.
But we have this other
But we
one.
just placed this.
Yeah, we've already got the 100,000 in
Right.
place.
Yeah, we
Okay.
wanted it in place before we released the other one. So I'll make a motion that we release the $449,698 letter of credit at this time.
Motion by Commissioner Pardola,
Second.
second by Commissioner Martin, that we release the original letter of credit of $449,698 on Cibolo Ridge Unit 3. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We're getting on down there. Okay, agenda item 13G, subdivision Oakfield Estates, Unit 6, discuss and take action on release of letter of credit, $221,090.75.
And that's Oakfield's Unit 6. They have completed the 2-year construction and warranty period, and Commissioner Martin did his
I did a
inspection
final
and-
inspection, and their signs are up, and I'm happy with it.
Is Oakfield in precinct 1 now?
Yes, it is now.
Okay.
Yeah, you got lucky. So I'll make a motion to release a letter of credit for Oakfield Estates Unit 6 in the amount of $221,090.75.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Pardola, that we release a letter of credit for Oakfield's Estates Unit Number 6. I just have a question. Is this the last unit, or they still have room to build?
This is it.
This is it?
Well, no, I
There's
take,
some acreage up front, but I don't know.
Yeah.
whether-
what he's gonna
But
do.
they've already gone as far back as
Does
they
it-
can.
Yes.
Back there at the very end.
Yeah,
can
this
he
is
make a
like you
left-hand
turn in that
turn?
main road, you go all the way back to the property
But at the
line.
very back, does he still got property where he can make a left-hand turn back there in the very back?
No,
I
this
think it
goes all the way
goes,
to the
once it gets
fence.
back there, it turns into Eagle Creek Estates.
Yeah, it does. It's the back of Eagle Creek.
It backs up to that.
I did all the subgrade on that before I became
did?
commissioner, yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're going to 13H, subdivision, estates at Triple R Ranch, discuss and take action on acceptance of dedication and conveyance of roads.
Okay, the roads have been built and inspected and met all the requirements, so it's just a matter of accepting them into the county road inventory.
That would be precinct 4, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know if Commissioner Wiley had any issues, or?
He did not.
Okay, well, since he's not here, I'll make a motion to accept the dedication and conveyance of road and estates at Triple R Ranch.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Fowle, that we accept the dedication and conveyance of roads on Triple R Ranch. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, 13I, subdivision Westfield Ranch, Unit 3, discuss and take action on acceptance and dedication and conveyance of roads.
Okay, and these roads as well have been inspected and met all the requirements, and we're ready to accept them into county road inventory
Where is Westfield Ranch?
off of 34 and 32. Right, just up from the intersection with 775.
Okay,
Yeah.
is this Cleveland's?
Yes.
Okay, I know.
So that would be precinct 4.
That's precinct 4, yes. Mhm.
I'll make a motion, Judge, we approve Westfield Ranch Unit 3.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we accept the dedication and conveyance of roads of Westfield Ranch Unit 3. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. 13J Subdivision Westfield Ranch Unit 4. Discuss and take action on acceptance and dedication and conveyance of roads.
And same thing with Unit 4, that was just a little bitty cul-de-sac that was done in Unit 4, and so that one is ready to accept into road inventory. It's been inspected, and Commissioner Wiley did not have any issues.
I'll make a motion, we approve Unit 4.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Perdola, that we accept the dedication and conveyance of roads of Unit 4 Westfield Ranch. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving right along to K. 13, agenda item 13K, discuss and take action on updates to fees for applicants for permits.
Okay, I've emailed these out to y'all to look at ahead of time.
Now, is this a new fee that's being requested, or what's the
So,
current fee is about?
Okay. The subdivision application fee stayed the same.
Paul wants to look at that. That's the current one, Paul wrote that.
The subdivision application fee stayed the same. The lodging fee stayed the same. We restructured the floodplain and development permit fees. And we added a fee for Clomar and Lomar reviews. If a developer, or not just a developer, if anyone is developing in the floodplain and they have to submit a letter of map revision or a conditional letter of map revision to FEMA, it has to be signed off on by the local floodplain administrator before they can submit it. And since I am not an engineer, I did not feel comfortable signing off on it just because their engineer says it met FEMA's requirements, so I would send it to our engineer to make sure. And so this way now we're gonna charge a fee for Clomar and Lomar reviews.
We never did before?
No.
No.
And I think since I've been here, I've maybe had to
We've-
sign off on 3.
Yeah, it hasn't been
It's
very
not-
many, but it's
Yeah.
a rather detailed, onerous process, and
It could be more
Yeah.
complicated.
some are easier than others. It just depends on where it is and what's going on, so.
I think Edwin went up on his fees on the food establishment and the driveway fees, the septic. He did not go up on those, that the fees would have to be run by TCEQ before he could do any updates to those.
So on the food handling permit, you looking to go from $10 to $200?
No, the food handler, we quit doing years ago.
The food
It's
establishment.
now all online, so we don't mess with it. They have to provide us proof they've taken the online class. I used to have to go teach these classes in the different cities.
You're
before
talking about the,
internet. Yeah, so
the permit from $75 to $200.
it's actually, that 200 is actually gonna be, would be the food establishment permit, which is issued once a year at the end of the year. Now, if a new food establishment is open
Boy, if we figured inflation from 1999 to now, we could really,
Exactly. Well, it's trying to get more in line too with each department, and what they do supporting themselves, each part of it. In other words, septic is the biggest line share of all the funds that come into our office. But the, food permit is a grant and then whatever we gather from permitting. The city, you can only go up as much also as the highest city charges for their, food establishment permit, which is Floresville, and they charge $200. That's the reason I put the 200 in there.
And do you get that 200 or
Well,
the
it goes
city?
into the general fund, it goes.
No. I'm talking about when you do one in the city.
No, the city collects their, we only contract to inspect, and they collect the money on all 3 cities. I'm not sure about Poe, because there's not that many restaurants in Poe. But I know Stockdale and Floresville, they collect their own money.
Y'all got a restaurant in Stockton?
one, every now and then we got one. Sylvia's,
Plenty of them.
Sylvia's, and then there's Sylvia's, and,
I think there's 11 in Stockdale unless it's changed.
okay, 11? Are you counting like the convenience stores?
That counts the convenience stores, any place.
I was gonna say, I missed all those restaurants.
Yeah. I
was gonna say.
Well, all 4 of the convenience stores
They sell food,
sell food.
Yeah.
and then you got the meat market, and then you got the restaurant.
Okay.
Judge, I have a question. If you, if the court approves the increase in the fees, is that just going to be additional revenue over what was already budgeted? Or are somebody going to figure out, how much additional revenue that we're expected to receive? And are we going to change the budget if so?
Well, no matter what we do, if we did that, we'd have to create another line item, no matter which way we do it, correct?
No. No, because we currently have line items for all of these fees, except for the new one that Leanne was talking about. We have revenue budgeted for the year. Are we just going to have an overage of what we collect over what's budgeted? Or is the court going to want to project additional revenue and do a budget amendment?
To do a budget,
Well, yeah, and I guess that,
What's budgeted
Second
was a
part-
projection anyway,
this-
wasn't it?
based on historical,
okay.
yeah.
What kind of a budget amendment are we talking about?
Well, you would have to certify additional revenue. We would have to,
Okay, then we could take that additional revenue and put it in another line item?
yes, you would have to have an offsetting expense.
Okay, that's the way we need to do it then.
But
that's-
somebody's got to do, I mean,
Because-
if you figured out, like, how did these numbers, how did they come up with these numbers? And what's the total additional revenue that we're anticipating to budget to receive, basically?
On the food establishment, it won't be until next year you see those funds, unless we get a few new restaurants. The food establishment is a once a year, and it lasts calendar year, January 1 to December 31st, and that's state order.
Right, so that's why I question why we're doing this mid-year and not during budget season. When we could budget revenue. I mean, either way is fine, but you're just gonna have to do a budget amendment, and someone's gonna have to tell me how much additional revenue to project. Because I can't do that.
We can do that. That's the way we should do it then. If that would do that, then we will create another line item that we can use, because I know the point of doing all of this, the reason we're doing all this is to where we can justify hiring a driveway inspector, which is so badly needed.
Well, yeah, but, I agree with the permit increase, but I'm not in favor of driveway permits just to be able to hire somebody. My thing is, do we have enough work for that individual?
Absolutely.
Which I know we do, but I don't think we need to increase, double the price of the driveway permit for a residential.
They're the ones that are causing all the problems.
Well, not
Yes.
necessarily.
Well, a
But-
lot, yeah,
I mean, we already got enough funds now that they're bringing in to pay for that individual. And then you're doubling the fee.
no,
That
that's,
money,
that's
that money
not
right
correct.
now is not budgeted to pay an individual. That money is put into the general fund, correct?
Exactly, but the money is being made now.
So if we did that, we'd have to do it.
I mean, we have trouble in the subdivision more than we do out there in the rural area. And you got somebody out there that's gonna go cut a gap in or make going into a pasture, you're gonna charge them $200? I can't see that.
Well, on some of those, reason I did that was because, of the smaller acreage that these places are being cut up. And we need to know about them, and we usually don't know about them till sometimes after there's a mobile home on them. And we find out they either don't have a septic or they have an illegal septic or, you know, at one time I was going to put in there a $50 construction driveway permit. It's temporary, and $150 for the driveway. And the reason being, so that way they had to come get a permit before they started anything major with it. We're seeing them after the home is almost finished and ready to close.
You're gonna always see that.
And what my goal would have been to get this person out there, find out where they're starting construction and go, hey, have you got your driveway permit? Because technically, they don't have the right to access that property from the county road until they do. That's what gives them the right to leave the county road and go onto their property. It's kind of an access easement is what it amounts to.
For an example, on County Road 414, they subdivide, I can think of 6 new entrances within a half a mile. Probably, I want to say half a mile, maybe it's just a tad more. And I'm sure there's more going to be coming in after, you know.
They're all over.
That's just that one, there was like, how many acres was that was subdivided? 200 and something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And it went to 10-acre tracts and some 5-acre tracts, and it's just like driveway after driveway. Now, I'm sure Commissioner Wiley is gonna be tickled to death on how he can maintain that road now.
And some of them on that road are doing it properly, and some of them aren't. You know,
But that doesn't mean we have to increase the fees just because someone don't do it right.
I'll just put,
Well,
That's just my opinion.
well, no, but there is currently not enough funding to fund a driveway inspector and his loaded salary and some fuel. He's got a vehicle he can use in a computer, so.
But how do you know you're gonna make enough by doubling this fee? We may not have no driveways next year. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, we're.
You
we're
gotta
gonna be-
start somewhere. You
Comel
gotta start
County's like, what, $50 permit?
I don't remember.
they have an engineer.
You know, I mean, we're pretty expensive when you stop and think about it for just a driveway permit, residential driveway permit. And a guy goes out there and just goes in the spec where they got a culvert or no. I mean, I
But
just
the
can't see
the
that.
process is more complicated than that, and that person's gonna have to spend time looking at that permit, go back and look at the plat and see if it required a culvert. If it doesn't, then he's gonna have to get with the commissioner and see what the commissioner
That's
wants to
separate
do.
in, out here in the rural area. Subdivision, yes.
But he's still gotta get with the commissioner
The main
in
bulk
the
of the
rural areas.
driveways are these
In-
ones we're having issues with. We're
Right.
not, it's not, we
Well,
got very
that's-
few that people.
But we have problems with the process right now with what we're doing in the rural areas.
And the lion's share of the permits are those, over 10 acres, you know, under 20, I'm gonna say 10 to 12 acre tracts, and then, the subdivision. We're still doing 45 to 50 a month.
And that doesn't pay for a person at $100,
That,
that's 4,000 a month that we're bringing in. If he's doing 40 a month at $100,
Well,
I'm gonna go apply for that job.
Commissioner, in our previous discussions on this, one of the figures that we came up with through the auditor's office was that we'd almost have to double
No, I did not say that.
Oh, I didn't, I'm saying the numbers did.
Oh, okay.
I said the numbers we worked with through the auditor's office were,
Oh,
came
then-
out to where we were about $50,000 to $70,000 short.
Yes.
And that's what this will help do away with, is a shortfall.
And this person will be out there because how many people are gonna go out there and not get a driveway permit? Just go out there and cut a hole in the fence and put a gap in it, and that's it.
And that's part of their job too, is to go out there and.
What is the county, how are they gonna enforce it? That's my next question.
Through permitting, I mean.
I know, but you got somebody that goes out there and cuts a hole and puts in a driveway, and they refuse to come pay the $200.
That's when we go to the county attorney's office.
And then where's it gonna go from there?
I can't answer that question, that would be up to the county
It
attorney.
goes to
Because
JP
we've got-
court. It goes to JP court.
I know, but we've got other issues in JP court that haven't been,
They're different than this. I know the ones you're talking about there.
I'm just saying that I just feel $200 is pretty steep for a driveway.
Well, it's not if you gotta go out there and do an pre.
One-time inspection.
Depends. If it's concrete, then it's really
Concrete,
twice.
They gotta go pre-pour, and then they gotta go back and do
That's-
a
that's-
final inspection, and,
Concrete is sometimes 3 inspections.
That's totally different, yes.
well, then what are you suggesting? Do you wanna do a separate permit for a rule?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with a subdivision, but when you picking on the rural people out there,
Does anybody know what
Well,
our
the subdivisions are
neighboring
platted
counties
with
charge?
driveways.
yes.
Like Carnes, Atascosa?
Yeah, we looked at that.
Do you know what our neighboring counties charge?
Depends, they're all over the board, anywhere from $50 to $500. It's everywhere. Orange County has a $500 driveway fee, but.
For
I think it's
residential?
less
No.
if it's
No.
residential.
No,
It could be a residential if it's out in the country, but there are no subdivisions in Corn.
no, they don't even have one subdivision.
Yeah, it's all.
We're working on it.
What about Atascosa, do you know?
I mean, the rules are another problem that will help with enforcement, is we need to get some new rules adopted. We have some, I've had input from the commissioners on some of them, and we're looking at finishing that off, so that can get adopted. And that hopefully will help on enforcement.
This is rules on driveways. Rules on driveways.
Yes, ma'am. And then, of course, there'll be procedures that have already been drafted that the inspector would have to go through.
Did we ever talk about, a fine for people that don't get a driveway permit?
I don't know if that's possible, Commissioner, that would be the county attorney's office would have to tell us that, if we could find them for,
Putting a
Well,
driveway,
in other cases, we make them pay a higher. Don't we, Leanne?
No,
or
we
is it-
have not adopted
No.
that.
Okay. I mean,
Because
we
we
don't
didn't know
have
if
to
we could
call
do
it a
it.
fine, but
If somebody doesn't get a permit before construction, and we find out about it, and they come in and get a permit, there was a question as to whether or not we could charge more, like a penalty fee or a late fee for getting
Permit after the
a
fact.
permit after the fact.
Would that would be considered, it would be considered a fine or whatever?
We did not,
We can't,
we did not.
because we
know
can't,
if could
we
do
can't
that.
make ordinances.
Yeah.
in that.
So then, just automatically
And when you say
give them a
construction,
violation, and it goes to JP court?
and when you say construction, you talking about just a house, or are you talking about a driveway, or are you talking about?
Anything that requires a permit. Whether it's a driveway, development.
We've had a lot of them where they've started building a house and then they come in to get their
They do
development
that, most of the
permit.
time they do it at the very end anyway. The contractor comes in and gets the septic,
And.
driveway, development, all at one time at the very end.
Looking for non-compliance.
We don't enforce them right now, we make them get it at the very beginning, which we should, but
If we had somebody that was out there to enforce it, that would be a lot, you know, when they see somebody coming in and start doing something, okay, we're gonna be out here and find these people out here, and we're gonna tell them, this is what you need to do, not after the fact.
but we don't have anything, Judge, other than the driveway to enforce that. We can't make them get a septic or even a development permit before they start building.
They're supposed to,
Yeah, I know, but they
but we
don't.
don't have anybody driving around looking for non-compliant.
Now, driveway we can because they're accessing off of the county road, but when you look at a septic or development permit, they can come get it at the end.
No,
don't have
they're
it.
supposed to get it before they
They can't get a
start.
septic tank permit after they've already built a septic tank. They'll get in trouble from that from the state,
They
right?
don't really get in trouble, they just we have to go back and,
Make them dig it all up.
make them do it right. I mean, the fine for an illegal septic through TCEQs is up to $10,000 per day after notification of an illegal septic. Of course, we don't get that money, the state does.
Imagine that.
Whenever we run into an issue, which we don't very often, except for on these 10 to 12 to 15 acre ones where we run into the problems. Because in the subdivisions, the builders, the septic installers, the concrete guys, they all know these permits exist. Now, it has to do with the timing of when they come apply for their permit. For the most part, most of them have gotten, especially now that concrete driveways have become very prevalent in these subdivisions, they've gotten to where they will come in before they start their driveway. Now, they'll put in a construction driveway, which sometimes they try to convert, which is not good. Yes, sir.
Most of my problems with Cibolo Ridge come from the fact that these guys go out there and start building these houses and they don't put a construction driveway in. They don't put a culvert pipe in if they do put a construction driveway in, and that's what all of that whole mess out there is about.
Causes a mess, yes.
Yep.
And I agree, most of the trouble is in the subdivision. I mean, I know in precinct 2, in the rural area, I have hardly any
How
problem,
often do you have somebody in the rural area down there apply for a driveway permit?
a bunch. But normally they'll call me and say, what do we need to do? And then I said to them, you have to get a
You may
driveway,
not have a problem, but I do.
You're very lucky, people don't do that.
you know?
I mean, it's quite obvious.
Like I said, I just gave an example of one piece that's developed
Oh, yeah.
on a county road, and there's driveway after driveway.
Well, back to Edwin's example, I had the same thing on County Road 122. They sold 10-plus acre lots, and every one of them came in. They did come in to get their permits, but because we don't have a good process to review that, that ditch wasn't cut, and so there's no culverts, and now the drainage is down the road instead of in the bar ditch.
And we don't have any enforcement because Cibolo Ridge also had a gentleman that put in 2 driveways after he was told by me that he needed permits to put them in. And he went ahead and put in 2 driveways after he knew he was supposed to have permits. So we got all kind of issues with no enforcement.
I'll make a motion to update the fees as presented by the EMC effective March 1st
Well, that was gonna be my question, are they gonna
of
be?
2022.
Do you wanna put them in effect, so we can get the word out?
March the 1st.
Second?
We got a motion that we accept the new proposed fees for applications for permits issued by Wilson County. A motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Perdola. Is there any more discussion?
Did
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Get that?
So did y'all decide if you're going to do projected revenue to do a budget amendment, or are you just going to
We-
deposit the money into the current
We will
revenue?
work, that'll be the next step.
That wasn't. Okay. Moving along to 13L. Discuss and take action on Wilson County Development Review Committee recommendations for, or WCDRC recommendations for updates to Wilson County subdivision and development rules and regulations. And here they are.
Those were emailed to you earlier, so y'all would have time to look at them, come up with your thoughts or questions.
if anybody has an objection to one of them, we can do that. Or,
Well, I don't understand how you're gonna make a developer put in driveways, you haven't even sold the lots yet.
Well, that's one we wanted to talk about. I mean, and these are just the
You
suggestions,
don't,
I
I
mean,
mean, you don't know if you need the driveway on the left side of the lot.
yeah, I mean,
right side of the
I
lot.
can argue that both ways, you know? Most of these houses, you can just flip the floor plan over, you know?
okay, then let's start. Does anybody have any, or do you want to do this with number one?
Okay, does anybody have any questions with number one, limit the number of lots created through a non-standard plat?
Can we do that? Can we limit?
Yeah, that's our procedures.
I mean,
I would think.
what's the smallest that we can say? If I have 5 acre, I want
Well,
to
they
split,
cannot, okay, they cannot create more than 2 tracts through a non-standard plat. Otherwise, they would have to follow the full subdivision regulations. Because
okay, but they're coming, they're putting 5 1-acre tracts
that's
off the
not
county
done
road.
through a non-standard plat, that they would have to follow the complete subdivision regulations, the platting requirements.
What would they, I mean, all the driveways, everything else would be off the county road. What would be their subdivision? I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Cody Wallace.
Yeah.
Followed 405.
Yes.
He followed the subdivision regulations. That was not a non-standard plat. The ones further down on 405. That was not a non-standard plat. That's the subdivision regulations they have to follow. They'll come in with a big old plat like that.
All this basically says here is that if you're gonna subdivide a piece of property into more than 2 tracts, then you gotta follow the subdivision regulations. In other words, it allows somebody to split their property in half or cut a piece out or whatever it is they wanna
Unless
do.
they're exempt
Unless,
from
yeah,
platting.
because it's to a family, like
Yeah, like
today's.
the
To a
one this
family
morning,
member.
Like this, the one this morning where they were doing, creating
All
3
family
tracts,
members, all family members.
but 2 of them were being conveyed to families, so then only one would count towards this.
What's the rule now that this
There
changes?
isn't.
There isn't.
We don't have a limit.
Okay, well,
Okay, well, hang on. We're not here to solve the problem. We're here to, is this something that we want Leanne to look at and go through the process and figure out, consult with our attorney? This is a yes or no question. This isn't really a discussion. Otherwise, we got 14 more to go and we'll be here in 2 more hours. It's just, the question is do you want Leanne to look at these items and present a proposed revision in that regard?
Yeah, in other words, I'm not gonna start making changes to our regulations only to find out that y'all didn't want.
The regulation changed to begin with. That's the
but
purpose.
it's hard to know, I think, without hearing from Leanne what the rule is now and what the problem has been that requires it.
We don't have a rule, and that's why we're looking at doing it.
We don't have a limit.
You want people to go through the process whenever they can, so we're trying to reduce the number of potential variances that we could get. You don't want to do exceptions unless you absolutely have to.
Okay. Everybody good with one?
Yes.
Yes, okay. 2?
Basically, that standardizes the data that the engineer is required to use to make the drainage calculations.
3?
3, this addresses some of the problems that we've talked about before to make sure that we get a scour analysis downstream of the proposed development to see if there would be any erosion issues downstream of the development based on their drainage calculations.
4?
This is really just tweaking some language now. We've had a couple of issues where there are a couple subdivisions that were approved. And the way the language is currently written, we had to approve them, and there will be some water on the road, albeit maybe only an inch or 2. And so this is really a clarification that you will not have water on the paved surface of the road.
Is there a way we can communicate with Mother Nature to be sure we don't get a 4-hour flood in 15 minutes?
Well, that's a separate issue. So this is all just based on the standard calculations that are performed. That's not to say that that road might not ever end up underwater if Noah shows up one day or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So, but that, again, that's just really tweaking the wording so that you don't have any water on the roadway.
5.
I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If they're going to do phase development, then they need to give us a master plan so we have an idea of what's coming.
Like over at Cibolo Ridge where they
Yeah.
Yes.
did phase
Well, here's
one
the
and then
deal.
they came
They
in
bought,
and
they bought
two
extra
and
land
then-
later.
Yeah, initially, when they did unit one, they weren't able to get that, so there was not gonna be a subsequent unit.
But that's where all of the
Where we have a
problems
deal
came
is
in.
that you got somebody going out there buying 500 acres and they just come in and put 100 acre at a time.
Well, that's what this
And they're
is.
not developing, showing what they're gonna do with the other acreage.
Okay.
Okay, 6.
Okay, so this is probably a tough one, and I know the committee's looked at this before, but, and I'm not 100% sure we're ready to go here, but we could require a traffic impact analysis. And this relates into a couple things. One is it'll help us plan in the future for our traffic loads. It'll help TxDOT figure out maybe where they need a new farm to market or state highway or whatever. But also, we could classify the roads, and we could have different standards for road construction for those roads. So I'll go back to the elephant in the room, Abrego Lake. So if you classified Abrego, what is the main? Yeah, Abrego Lake Drive, and used the TIA, all that traffic, all the future traffic, if you go back to the requirement of a master plan, then all that traffic, that road would be built to a higher standard to handle that much traffic. So this one's a tough one. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure we're ready to take that big step, but it's one, we can look at it, get some preliminary information and see what we think we should do. I think a lot of it also will depend on what authority that we have. Because have we been down the authority road to do this one, on this one?
Yeah, I believe we could do that, because we had already looked into it, we just, yeah.
Okay. Now 7.
So one of the issues that we've run into is when we're doing these inspections, especially on the drainage improvements, we're not really taking measurements and all that. So as part of the as-bills that are required, when they're submitted, because they're submitted before the final inspection, that way the county engineer can compare those numbers to what was proposed on the plan and make sure that that drainage pond or whatever it is, drainage ditch, whatever, is the size and dimensions that it's supposed to be, particularly focusing on the detention ponds. Because I've got an issue right now with one that fortunately the developer's engineer is saying isn't right. And I mean, anybody can look at it pretty much and tell. So this would be a little bit of an increased cost to the developer, but I think it's worth it for the county.
What about 8? Should off-site drainage be allowed?
Well, that goes back to the issue we had this morning. So, you know, a developer owns a piece of property, and we've had this, what do we figure out, about 2 or 3 other times? This is not the first time we've had this, but.
The first time somebody asked, we told them no.
No,
because,
right.
Yeah, they did not they did not own.
The adjoining
developer didn't
property.
own the adjoining property. The second time, they were allowed to do it because the drainage, the off-site drainage in the pond was in a subsequent unit that was going to be developed, and we told them they had to provide a document to ensure that that drainage easement detention pond was going to be maintained if Unit 2 never got developed. Because if something would have happened to the developer and there would have never been any subsequent units, there would have been a detention pond on acreage that potentially could be sold to no telling who. the
Right.
document that took care of that. And then the one this morning.
Yeah, and I mean, I think our preference on the one this morning would have been for that person to convey that land to the development and make it a part of the development. We could run into a lot of issues by doing that.
Something we need to be aware of too is when we're approving these subdivisions, every bit of water in Cibolo Ridge is being discharged onto the neighbor south of that subdivision. All the water from phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 is all being discharged on the neighbor south of that subdivision.
And that's part of the purpose of going back up to the one to require a scour analysis. And actually, in Cibolo Ridge, that all started at the downstream end and then all went upstream.
But
But
that's not a new drainage. It's been draining there forever. It's just, there's been a subdivision built that's changed how much drainage there is, how fast it is.
That's true, but when you add concrete driveways, paved
Yes.
roads and all that, it changes the amount of water that's being gathered and discharged into one particular
Yeah.
spot. It was being discharged, that's like a mile long back in there, and it was, it was going through the pasture in the
Yeah.
space of a mile. Well, now they've gathered it into 3 detention ponds, and it's a torrent of water coming down out of those,
And it affects people downstream.
yep, big
And,
time.
and this will do what?
which one?
Well, whichever one you're
The
talking
scour
about.
analysis. That's gonna make them look at the lay of the land and determine whether or not that land would erode at the velocities that the water is leaving the detention pond. And
See, in my opinion, they could have shifted those lots over a little bit, and they did a drainage pond on the north side of the property that goes all the way to 87. They could have done the same thing on the south side and taken all that water down to 87, which goes to Cibolo Creek, and not turned it loose on the neighbors to the south of them. So, just,
that's what we're trying to do, is to try to kind of fix some of those things where they don't take the easy road.
yep, exactly.
I mean, I see that problem everywhere where it's being downstream, flooding downstream. Not so much, they're putting the water, you know.
And they didn't have the flooding issues with phase 1, but when they added phase 2 and phase 3 and then started gathering the water out of phase 3 and channeling it through phase 1, then that's when we had the issue. Could have been done
And that's potentially probably because all those ditches and retention ponds were full of sand and weren't doing what they were designed to do.
Hindsight's 20/20. It could have been done differently, but
Well,
we didn't ever.
again, that goes back to, because one of the things we've talked about is, should we, and yes, we should be going around and looking at these detention ponds, especially in the ones in the sandier areas, because they're gonna silt in, and they're gonna silt in pretty quickly, and then they're not gonna function the way that they're supposed to.
Okay.
So then number
Eight.
8, should we allow off-site drainage or require the developer that it?
We just did, didn't we?
We just did.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't specifically
Right now,
say
the regulation doesn't prevent it, so, right.
But that,
I would say that would need to be on a case-by-case,
yeah.
need to be.
Well, no, you need to make a rule, and you need to
make
stick
a,
with
yeah,
it.
it's gotta be a permanent rule, and
Yes.
You can't pick and
If we grant a
choose.
variance or something, then we can do that.
Because then you run into the issue, well, you did it for so-and-so, but you won't do it for me. And
How would that individual, my concern is down the road, like I was asking him, if he sells that property, how does the HOA have access to that detention pond?
That's a east.
He's got
yeah,
an
he,
easement.
it's
Oh,
a
it's a drainage
dedicated,
easement,
it's a
yes.
dedicated easement,
Drainage easement
yeah.
Still,
to the.
but to get, if you had to go do some work on that property, on that drainage, or that detention pond.
Exactly, and that's why, that's one of the primary reasons for not
How
allowing
would you
off-site
won't be able to
drainage.
do no work there
Yeah.
with equipment?
If we wouldn't allow something like that, that would.
That's something I think it needs to be looked at real, not allow it. Because
Okay.
if he happens to sell that property, they could keep any kind of construction or equipment off of there.
We
All
have-
he has is that
They have
detention
access through the easement.
Yes,
They
that's
have
it.
access
If
through
the
the easement.
easement's in the deed,
But yes, but I'm talking about, when you go out there to do work, say dig out a detention pond, you got equipment, you got scrapers, you got dozers. They're not gonna just stay in that detention pond or that
Yeah.
easement.
Yeah, it makes it more difficult.
It is,
Be best not to do any off-site.
exactly.
All right, number 9. And this is one that we, because one of the common things we hear is that the HOAs either don't have any money or they're not charging their fees. And I guess this would be a statutory thing if we can do this. So we would require the developer to come up with a maintenance plan with an estimated cost to help the HOAs determine what their HOA fees need to be.
And can we enforce that, Kathy?
We can't make an HOA charge.
But let's say a developer says it's gonna cost you $50,000 to maintain that detention pond.
Well, and who are they telling that to? The landowners?
The HOA.
The developer's telling that to the
HOA
HO.
plan. Our question is if we can require a developer to come up with a maintenance plan and an estimated cost so that the HOA will have a better idea
Of what to be charging.
what to be charging for their assessments. I mean, in our eyes, we're looking at it helping the HOA.
Yeah.
because
I would
some
think that would be a very good
complaints,
idea.
Yeah, that we have heard are that the HOAs don't have enough money. Well, it's
Yes.
because they're not charging enough. And they don't,
Yeah, I mean,
No.
that would really be kind of the HOA's business, but if they're not up and functioning, but, yeah, I think we can tell them, I mean, you know.
We can tell them. Paul's question was, can we make them? And I think the answer is no. We,
What authority do we have to make sure that a HOA has enough funds to maintain what they're supposed to do?
I know, but he's asking a different question. But the answer is no, I don't think we have any authority over them. But what we do have the authority is to go in there and inspect that. And if it's not in compliance, we can send them a letter to tell them that it's not in compliance. And that they need to fix it, and we can go through the process on that.
And I think, you know, maintenance plan's a very broad wording. It may be some things that we could force them to do, but other things we couldn't.
Okay,
So require the HOA to own the open space, green space, green belts, detention, retention ponds, et cetera. Yeah, because go ahead.
we've had some issues in a couple of the subdivisions. This is what we're hearing from the management folks, is that the HOA goes to try and do some maintenance. Well, the drainage easement or the detention pond is actually on private property owned by someone. And so,
With an
yes,
easement,
they have an
just like we were
easement,
talking.
but they don't like, you know, when they come out there to do the work, they don't like.
Or they got to come through their driveway,
Yeah,
or,
coming through their driveway to get to the easement, or.
That goes back to having
So
like a pond.
If we could require the developer to convey all common areas and drainage easements, detention ponds to the HOA, that would solve the problem. And that way, they might look at designing their development a different way.
And the reason they haven't done that, they've been slick and they've sold these people these detention ponds.
Yes.
And they didn't even realize.
Here's your lot,
that
it's
They didn't even,
200 feet wide, but half of it's a detention
they
pond.
didn't realize that they had bought a detention
this helps
pond.
protect the potential unwary purchaser.
Oh, yeah, I went out there the other day and I had a guy come up and he's like, what are you doing looking at my property? Well, we're looking at doing some maintenance on this detention pond. Well, I own that, that's mine. Okay, do you want us to fix the drainage problem or not? So,
Yeah, so if it was actually owned by the HOA.
yeah.
Well, you know, I hate to say it, but most purchasers of a lot, you know, they haven't read the papers. They don't understand it. So it may be But that's really, the developer ought to be educating the HOA, and the HOA ought to be,
Well, that's what I'm saying, the developer
Yeah.
hasn't done that because the
Yeah.
developer's selling them this piece of property with this detention pond on
Yeah.
it, and the purchaser is not aware that he just bought a hole in the ground.
Okay, so then the homeowners association would be liable for the taxes.
Yes.
Well, aren't they now?
Yeah, because that could get expensive.
Well,
No, because the
Who's
people,
responsible now?
the
people that own
landowner,
The
that
landowner,
detention pond.
where the detention pond is, it is on a lot.
This guy that owns this house, he was unaware and bought a lot with a detention pond, so he's responsible for the taxes
But
because
if you
he
have a
owns it.
drainage easement going through lots, let's say, who's responsible for that drainage easement?
the HOA.
That's what I'm saying right now.
Right.
Okay.
But the property owner, but the property owner, it's on his property, and he's paying taxes on it.
Yeah,
Property
but
owner's paying
If we
taxes.
do what you're saying here, and it calls the homeowners association to own it, they would be
have to
liable
be
for the
paying
taxes.
Yes.
And they're probably not gonna have the money to pay the taxes.
That's exactly right.
Well, they're gonna have to set their fees to where they need
Yeah.
to be.
They're gonna have to collect them,
Really set
too.
their fees
Yeah.
higher.
You can set them, but there's a
Well,
difference
and I
in
mean,
setting and collecting.
you know, yeah,
I mean, I understand the process, but let's say I have a 1 acre tract and that drainage easement goes through my property. Is that gonna split my property?
it
That
might,
should be platted.
it is, it's on the
That should be
plat,
before
it's
you
on the
buy your
deed.
property.
You know what I mean?
And
If we do this, it will be.
And if you back
Yeah.
up to number 9, that's what the recommendation about a maintenance plan with estimated cost is when you get to number 10 down here, well, then they've got an idea what they need to charge.
Right.
Okay. Good deal, moving right along.
So, you know, we need to take, and actually, I think we probably could about 10 or 12 things under item 11, but this kind of sums it up. And I think, did we decide that we can't wait 2 years on the acceptance? I know we had a discussion again the other day, but, so we just want to look at the options that are out there to us to see how long that we can wait. I mean, our good developers, we don't have any problems with, but our problem children are going to be problems until we put some teeth into here. And, you know, item C was just if we stick to, if we don't do the TIAs and have them classify the streets and then design the road according to the traffic load, then, you know, that's just some of the other things that we can look at. So a lot of 11 also is not only the financial guarantee and how long they have to build the road, maintain it, and all that good stuff, but also I really want to look at the ability to determine what that road cross-section looks like.
Or not accept roads at all?
Well, we're going to kill ourselves if we don't accept roads.
Why?
Why? Because that means every subdivision will be a gated subdivision, and there's a lot of people that don't want to live in a gated subdivision.
Not necessarily. I mean, that's
Well,
up to the
okay,
developer to
well,
do
yeah.
that.
Well, that's, yeah. But I think we would be real remiss if we did that. I think we run into some real problems, and our fees and applications would drop significantly pretty quick for a while till everybody figured out what they wanted to do. And that could hurt us really bad.
I mean, I know other counties that do it.
Yep, I do too. I don't agree with it.
Industry, Wilson County doesn't have much industry to support our tax
They don't
base.
necessarily have industry. I mean, y'all do what y'all want. I mean, I've been pushing that for years, not accepting roads.
Okay, so 12, requiring driveway installation, you know, that may, or, you know, I mean, there's various viewpoints on that. I mean, and we can talk about it. If you do it as part of the road construction, well, then at least you know it's built right, it's done right, you get your
What if
permit
somebody
money.
comes in with a home design that's got the garage over somewhere else?
They
Flip
can
it
change
over.
it. They can turn it.
Yeah, flip it over. That's what I say, most of these house plans are right or left-hand models, you can flip them over.
At least have some kind of teeth. Right now, they're going out there, when they start a construction, just put a driveway wherever they want to cut it,
Or not putting one.
or not even put one in.
That's where we're getting all of these bar ditches tore up and all of the
Mm-hmm.
vegetation.
Yep.
Okay,
It's something to look at.
Number 12, or, let's go back to number 11.
Sure, go ahead.
So, number 11, are we going to consider one of those options?
Well, I think that's what we need to do, is just sit down and look at it, and that one, to me, is probably one of the most difficult ones, because we just need to sit down and figure out what it is that we want to do, how we want to do it. I mean, for that particular item, I think we need to have either the subdivision committee look at it or a different subcommittee look at that to try to figure out what it is that we need to do. That's my honest recommendation for that one. Because I really think we need to look at more than just how we're doing that with the current road standard.
Well, okay, so we are gonna classify the roads, come
Well-
up with specs to
well, if you-
classify the roads.
Well, that's why we need to figure out if we're gonna do the TIA or not
TIA,
first. If we
yes.
are, then that helps with this one. So, I mean, I think we kind of got them in the right order here
So
with some of the higher ones being done first.
Okay, so if we require the traffic impact analysis, we'll be able to classify the roads and have different road requirements, road spec requirements for the different
Classifications,
classifications.
right.
And then hold off on number 11 and see how,
How that,
if that, how
yeah,
much
if
of a
you,
difference
if you
that
do up
makes.
here, then you don't have to worry too much about down here, yeah.
Okay, so that'll be on hold, number 11 will be on hold.
Well, it'll be one of the last, or after you go through the other.
Okay, then number 12,
Yeah, so that one, we want to see their stormwater plan now submitted as part of their development package. They are already supposed to have stormwater plan. We don't take a look at it. Mainly, I would like to have it on file so that if there's an issue during construction like you're having and like some of us, rest of us have had, we can go back and look at their plan. I can tell you right now, I don't see any notices, postings that are required by TCQ to put up. They're not doing their inspections after these storm events. And we can get TCQ's help in enforcing that side of it, but at least we have their plan and we know what should be there if something happens.
You don't start a subdivision in Guadalupe County unless you have a stormwater prevention plan
Right, I mean, did you,
posted.
yeah, do you think all the stormwater controls for Cibolo Ridge were up? Okay, yeah, and we don't know what's supposed to be there. If we don't have that, we can't look at it.
Right.
I mean, there's not even,
Some of our developers also develop, like in Guadalupe, or are they pretty limited to Wilson? Our developers?
They're not limited to Wilson.
No, I know Kevin does a bunch down south in Corpus.
Okay, well, some of them may already be doing some of these things in other counties.
But they're not gonna say anything in Wilson if they're not required to.
right,
No, but we can find out, you know.
What do we do on 12?
Yeah, what'd y'all say on 12?
I say yes.
Okay,
I mean, we can look at it and come up with some language.
Okay.
now 14.
Yeah, so, since we have a lot of long developments that, when they have a special flood hazard area, right now, we currently require one monument, and it may be beneficial. One thing we need to do is we need to be more specific about the information that's required on that monument, because that's what we're going to be using to assess any slabs when they have to do their elevation certificate, if they're adjacent to the floodplain or maybe they happen to be in it. But it's a long ways to the back. Now, one of the things that's changed is we've used some GPS surveying, so we may or may not need to have some additional monuments, so that it doesn't cost these people a lot of money to go in there and get that elevation certificate done for that specific slab. So that's really a survey thing, and what do we need, and would it be prudent and helpful to the homeowners to have that additional monument put in there? It wouldn't cost a lot of money, because it'd be done when the developer does the surveying for the lots. And like I said, we already require them to set one. We just need to look and see if it's appropriate to add more than one, depending on the spacing.
Okay. My recommendation is, did you get enough notes to rewrite these and bring them back to us again?
Oh, yeah, it's gonna take a while, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it won't be in 2 weeks.
We'll get it in May.
But at least we're moving in the right direction.
No, yeah, at least we're, I don't,
It's not gonna happen.
Well, maybe we
overnight,
should
no.
adopt them and then wait and see if there's a explosion from the developer.
Well, I think, a lot of these are rather innocuous. It's probably a handful of them, 3 or 4 of them, that we need to look at. And the TIA probably needs to be one of the first ones. And then once we have a good draft of that, we can bring it in and let the court look at it.
Okay, now which one is that? The,
Number 6,
So
okay,
basically, we're gonna go forward with all of them except number 11.
until we figure out what we're gonna do with number 6.
Yeah.
but you're gonna have to rewrite some of these.
Right.
Oh, yeah, this is not the language that's
Yeah.
gonna be in there. Oh, no.
Yeah, no, this is the condensed, abbreviated version. And there will be some other changes too, to some things, but a lot of it is more administrative type stuff that Leanne needs when she goes through her office to check it and then send it off to the county engineer to review. So it'll eventually wind up being basically a rewrite, and,
I think it's a good start.
but these were the items we thought that ought to be brought to court to make you aware that we were looking at those and figure out where we want to go with those.
It'll take
Okay.
more time to.
Okay, so we're not gonna take any action on 13L. And that's all for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 14, Eva S. Martinez, County Clerk, minutes.
Yes, Judge, I have counted them out, and they have been properly reviewed.
Judge, I make a motion that we approve the January 10th and January 24th meeting that's been presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Perdola. We accept the minutes for the January 10th and January 24th. Is there any discussion, questions, additions, deletions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now we're moving to agenda item 15, Jalen T. Botiford, Human Resource General Specialist, payroll and personnel changes.
Good morning. HR Grimm was hired part-time as a Wilson County Veteran Service Officer effective today, February 14th, making $17.59 per hour. And Oscar Harkeen resigned from his position as a Wilson County Veteran Service Officer effective Thursday, February 10th.
That was quick.
Are we gonna be hiring a new full-time individual, or is that just gonna stay part-time?
It's 2 part-time positions right
It's,
now.
it's always been a part-time position.
We just had 2 part-timers. We only have 1 in 1 position.
And we're probably gonna try to just get by with him, see how it works. Okay,
We have no bills this month.
agenda item 16, Brenda Trevino, County Auditor, bills.
Yes. Your total,
They didn't put the county treasurer on the agenda?
no, because it's
Nope,
not the
remember,
second.
she's only doing the end of the month.
Take a deep breath. $615,698.37 is the total for bills. That is because half of that includes the trucks from the event.
Oh, yeah.
The what?
The trucks we just got delivered, the dump trucks.
Oh,
3 of them
oh,
for like 300 and something thousand.
okay, so it actually would be 300 and something thousand if it wasn't for those.
Yeah, half of the bills was that.
And you'll see that it's in a separate fund, so you'll see that toward the back.
And we'll get that reimbursed once we
So the sooner we get these trucks disposed of, the sooner we'll get our money back. Okay,
I think we need to talk about that down the road.
yep, push on that.
It's on page 18 and 20 if you wanted to see the breakdown of the vehicles or what we're paying for right now.
Have we gotten all of the trucks yet, or are we still waiting on?
I got two.
Got two come?
He's got two, and I think Larry still has one to pick up, right? Oh, Larry picked up.
Have they come in yet, or do we know, or?
Yes, Herman said that I think they're in,
Houston.
yeah, and
Okay.
this week or
Good.
couple weeks.
So we're getting close then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lot sooner than.
Can we sell these things for scrap once we knock the hole in the block and cut
Yes,
the?
we are, Judge. I'm gonna do some checking to see if, Commissioner Martin's checking about if we can run them through that, what auction is that?
Of deals.
But I don't know who's gonna wanna come pick up, how are we gonna,
Well, that's.
when you cut that axle or that frame, moving that stuff around,
Well, you don't wanna cut it where the truck falls in two.
that's what you gotta do. Look on that picture. You gotta cut it all the way to two,
Got to cut it in two. Yeah, got to cut it all the way through.
all the way through.
Who's
There's
gonna be
no
under
way
there
of
when they
moving
cut it? You're gonna have to hold it up.
Well, you have to,
I've done turp deals before, and I didn't have to cut them where they fall in two. Yeah, but I didn't, you can't move the pieces around.
That's what we need, that's why I said we gotta discuss this and find out. I think it'd be better for us to get a contractor in here.
We don't wanna spend more money
I
doing
got
it.
no way of doing it.
yeah, that's a separate discussion.
Yeah,
Brenda wants us to pay
we
her
can
bills.
do that later. Who brought that up anyway? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Martin to accept the bills, second by Commissioner Perdola. Is there any more questions, additions, changes, deletions, anything like that? Any more? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we've paid the bills.
And just a tidbit of info, our outside auditors will be here next week, Tuesday through Friday. We've started since last week uploading a whole bunch of information so they can do a lot of it off-site, but
Okay, now agenda item number 17 at 11:29. We're adjourned.